Most people over 60 accept weak legs as something that simply happens with age. The muscles start to go, the joints start to ache, getting up from a chair takes more effort than it used to. Climbing stairs becomes something you think about before doing instead of just doing. And somewhere along the way, most people decide this is just how aging works. It is not. What is actually happening inside your legs after 60 is a specific biological process. And that process responds to specific nutritional inputs in ways that most doctors never mention during a standard appointment. The muscle loss you are experiencing has a name. It is called sarcopenia, and it is not an inevitable feature of getting older. It is an accelerating process that either gets addressed or gets worse, and the difference between those two outcomes often comes down to what you are eating consistently, every single day. Here is what changes in your legs specifically after 60 that does not change the same way in other parts of your body. Your legs contain the largest muscle groups in your entire body. The quadriceps, hamstrings, glutes, and calf muscles together represent more than half of your total muscle mass. After 60, the rate at which your body breaks down muscle protein begins to outpace the rate at which it rebuilds it. This is called anabolic resistance, and it means your muscles have become less efficient at responding to the protein you eat and the physical activity you do. You could be eating the same amount of protein you ate at 45 and exercising just as consistently, and your legs would still be losing mass. That is not a personal failure. That is a shift in the underlying biology that requires a different nutritional strategy to counteract. At the same time, circulation in the legs changes significantly after 60. The small blood vessels that supply oxygen and nutrients to muscle tissue become less flexible. Nitric oxide production, which keeps blood vessels dilated and blood flowing efficiently, declines with age. When circulation is compromised, muscle cells receive less of what they need to repair and rebuild after activity. Recovery slows down, and the cumulative effect over months and years is accelerating muscle loss. The legs feel heavier, they fatigue faster, and the strength that used to be there quietly disappears. Most interventions focus on exercise, which matters enormously, but what almost never gets discussed is how specific compounds in certain fruits directly address the circulation problem, the inflammation problem, and the protein synthesis problem simultaneously. That is what this is about. The first fruit is watermelon, and the reason it belongs at the top of this list has nothing to do with hydration, which is the reason most people associate it with health. Watermelon is one of the richest dietary sources of an amino acid called citrulline. Your body converts citrulline into arginine, and arginine is the direct precursor to nitric oxide, the compound that relaxes and dilates blood vessels. A study published in the American Journal of Hypertension found that watermelon extract supplementation significantly improved arterial function and reduced aortic blood pressure in adults with prehypertension. What this means practically for your legs is that regular watermelon consumption supports the kind of circulation that gets oxygen and nutrients into muscle tissue more efficiently. Better circulation means faster recovery after walking or exercise, less of that heavy, fatigued feeling in the legs after standing, and over time, a better environment for muscle maintenance. 2 cups of fresh watermelon provides a meaningful citrulline dose. The research on citrulline as a standalone supplement for muscle recovery in older adults is also compelling, but getting it from food means you are also getting lycopene, vitamin C, and potassium alongside it, which all contribute to vascular and muscle health through separate mechanisms. The combination matters. The second fruit is tart cherries, and this one has some of the most specific research on older adults and leg muscle function of any food on this list. Tart cherries contain an exceptionally high concentration of anthocyanins, a class of flavonoid antioxidants that do 2 things relevant to leg strength after 60. First, they reduce exercise-induced muscle damage and accelerate recovery by directly countering the oxidative stress that occurs when muscle fibers are worked. Second, they reduce circulating levels of inflammatory markers, including interleukin-6 and C-reactive protein, both of which are elevated in chronic low-grade inflammation that accelerates muscle breakdown in older adults. A study published in the Scandinavian Journal of Medicine and Science in Sports found that tart cherry juice consumption significantly reduced muscle soreness and strength loss following intense exercise in adults. Additional research has specifically examined the recovery benefits in older populations and found accelerated return of strength following physical activity. What this means practically is that the limiting factor for many people over 60 is not effort during exercise, but the recovery period afterward. If your legs are sore and fatigued for 3 or 4 days after a walk or a workout, you exercise less frequently and muscle maintenance suffers. Tart cherries directly shorten that recovery window. 8 ounces of tart cherry juice daily, or a regular serving of dried tart cherries, provides a meaningful anthocyanin dose. Not sweet cherries, which have a significantly different nutritional profile. Tart cherries specifically. The third fruit is avocado. And if you have been thinking of avocado primarily as a source of healthy fat for heart health, you are missing the reason it belongs on a list specifically about leg strength after 60. Avocado contains a compound called beta-sitosterol, a plant sterol that reduces inflammation at the cellular level. It also contains more potassium per gram than bananas, and potassium is directly involved in muscle contraction and nerve signaling in the legs. When potassium is insufficient, muscles cramp, fatigue more quickly, and do not contract as efficiently. After 60, kidney function subtly changes, and potassium regulation becomes less precise, which means dietary intake matters more, not less. But the more significant reason avocado belongs here is its effect on nutrient absorption. The fat-soluble vitamins and carotenoids that support muscle and joint health, including vitamin K, which plays a critical role in bone density and joint function, and lutein, which has emerging research connecting it to muscle mass preservation, are absorbed dramatically better when consumed with fat. Adding avocado to a meal that contains leafy greens or other vegetables significantly increases the bioavailability of those compounds. You are not just eating what is in the avocado. You are making everything else in the meal work harder. Half an avocado daily is the practical target. The monounsaturated fat content also directly supports the anti-inflammatory environment that muscle tissue needs to repair and maintain itself after 60. The fourth fruit is kiwi, and this one surprises people consistently because it does not carry the marketing reputation of some other fruits. But the research specifically on older adults and physical function is genuinely striking. A study published in the Journal of Nutritional Science found that daily kiwi consumption improved vitamin C status, reduced oxidative stress markers, and was associated with improved physical function in older adults. Kiwi contains more vitamin C per gram than oranges, and vitamin C has a direct role in collagen synthesis. Collagen is not just a skin compound. It is the structural protein that makes up tendons, ligaments, and the connective tissue that holds muscle to bone in your legs. After 60, collagen synthesis slows significantly, which is part of why tendons become less flexible, joints become more susceptible to injury, and the legs lose some of their structural resilience. Vitamin C from food, rather than supplements, appears to work through slightly different pathways, and kiwi specifically has been studied in ways that isolated vitamin C supplements have not been. Beyond vitamin C, kiwi contains actinidin, a proteolytic enzyme that improves protein digestion. Given that anabolic resistance after 60 means your muscles are already less efficient at using dietary protein, anything that improves how completely you absorb and utilize that protein matters. 2 kiwis per day is what the research protocols generally used. They are small, easy to eat, and add almost no preparation time to a morning routine. The fifth fruit is pomegranate, and the active compounds here work through a mechanism that is genuinely different from everything discussed so far. Pomegranate contains punicolagens and ellagic acid, which gut bacteria convert into a compound called urolithin A. Research published in Nature Metabolism found that urolithin A activates a cellular cleaning process called mitophagy, which specifically targets damaged mitochondria in muscle cells for removal and replacement. Mitochondria are the energy-producing structures inside cells, and in muscle tissue, they are what powers contraction and fuels activity. After 60, damaged mitochondria accumulate in muscle cells and are not cleared as efficiently as they were in younger tissue. The result is that muscles produce energy less efficiently, fatigue faster, and recover more slowly. Urolithin A essentially restores the cellular maintenance process that removes those damaged mitochondria. This is not a peripheral or indirect effect. This is a direct intervention in the cellular mechanism underlying muscle fatigue and decline in older adults. Not everyone produces urolithin A efficiently from pomegranate because individual gut microbiome composition determines conversion rates, but consuming pomegranate consistently while also eating fermented foods that support gut microbiome diversity improves the conversion significantly over time. 8 ounces of pomegranate juice daily, or the seeds from half a pomegranate, is the practical approach. The collagens in the juice are actually more concentrated than in the seeds alone, so juice is a reasonable option if the seeds are inconvenient. Now here is what matters about all 5 of these together. Each one addresses a different biological mechanism involved in leg muscle decline after 60. Watermelon addresses circulation and nitric oxide production. Tart cherries address post-exercise inflammation and recovery time. Avocado addresses nutrient absorption, potassium balance, and cellular inflammation. Kiwi addresses collagen synthesis, protein digestion, and oxidative stress. Pomegranate addresses mitochondrial health and cellular energy production in muscle tissue. These are not overlapping mechanisms, they are complementary ones. When you are only eating 1 or 2 of these occasionally, you are addressing 1 or 2 parts of a multi-system problem. When you rotate all 5 consistently through your week, you are giving your leg muscles the inputs they need across all the mechanisms simultaneously. The biology responds to that comprehensively in a way it cannot respond to a single intervention. There is also a timing consideration that the research supports. Consuming fruits with high antioxidant content, tart cherries and pomegranate in particular, within an hour or 2 of physical activity, whether that is a walk, light resistance training, or any other exercise, maximizes their effect on post-exercise recovery. The window when muscle tissue is most responsive to anti-inflammatory compounds is immediately following activity. Eating these fruits at random times throughout the day still provides benefit, but pairing the highest antioxidant options with your activity window accelerates the recovery advantage. The broader point here is that leg strength after 60 is not determined primarily by how much you exercise. Exercise matters enormously, and nothing in this replaces it. But the ceiling for what exercise can accomplish is largely determined by the nutritional environment your muscle tissue is operating in. If circulation is compromised, muscles receive less oxygen and nutrients regardless of how hard you work them. If chronic inflammation is elevated, muscle protein is broken down faster than exercise can rebuild it. If collagen synthesis is insufficient, tendons and connective tissue become the limiting factor before muscle itself does. If mitochondrial function is declining, energy production in the legs drops and fatigue sets in earlier and recovers more slowly. These fruits address each of those limiting factors. They do not replace the work. They raise the ceiling for what the work can accomplish. Most people over 60 are not losing leg strength because they are aging. They are losing it because the nutritional environment their muscles are operating in has not kept pace with what aging physiology actually requires. The 5 fruits covered here are not exotic or expensive or difficult to incorporate. They are practical, accessible, and backed by specific research on older adults and physical function. The question is not whether the biology supports this. It does consistently across multiple independent research bodies. The question is only whether you start incorporating them this week or keep waiting for a stronger signal than your legs are already giving you. Subscribe so that when the next piece of this picture comes out, you have it before everyone else.